For me, the jump from 28 to 30 and 32mm tires has been a revelation. Literally the best upgrade I've ever made. So why stop at 32mm? Why stop at 35? This is a 40mm GP5000 STR straight from the future. Well, actually it's the new 35mm on a super wide gravel wheel, and today I want to find out if this is the future of road cycling. And not only that, I want to find out if a random amateur cyclist like me can do useful performance testing, because when it comes to cycling gear, there are a lot of strong opinions backed by very little or no data at all. So what do we have here? This is the WRMC64 wheelset from BTLOS. Check out my last video if you want to see my extensive review. If not, here are the key specs. I wanted the deepest wheel available that would also give me a nice rim to tire transition for this exact tire. So we've got 65mm of depth, 32mm internal width and almost 39mm of external width. All this results in a measured tire width of 40.5mm. And after a few hundred kilometers of riding them in my GR1, I'm seriously considering retiring my road bike. Hot take, but they really feel that good. It's a whole new level of comfort while still rolling like a race setup, or maybe even faster. But feelings can be deceptive, so they have to prove themselves against my current road wheel set, the Hyper D67. I think this is the perfect benchmark because they are similar to the BTLOS in many ways. They are also close to 65mm deep, feature bladed carbon spokes, and are equipped with a GP5000 STR. 30mm measuring 31.5 in the front and 32mm measuring 33.5 in the rear. This is what many people would probably consider a fast wheelset, and if I look around in my cycling community, this is already on the wider side of things, because too many people still believe that narrow equals fast. And that might be true if you only consider aerodynamics, because the frontal area of this wheel is over 30% larger than on this one. Or to put it in numbers, the difference in frontal area is roughly 70 square centimeters. That's a square about this size. Not a lot compared to the frontal area of my body, so does it matter? Let's find out. Welcome to my test track, a country road to nowhere with almost zero elevation, no crossroads and no traffic. It's going to be a beautiful midsummer night and the wind has already died down completely. I've created a 10km segment that starts right at that sign behind me. It goes 5 kilometers north, around a roundabout and back south to the finish line. I've brought out all the gear and just finished the tire pressure check. I'm sticking to the Silka calculator, so we've got 62 and 62 psi in the Hypers and 44 and 46 psi in the BTLOS. My testing protocol goes as follows. I will do several runs at 35 km per hour because that's a speed that I can sustain for a long time in a relaxed position. I already did a few runs over the last weeks and I find that it's way easier to hold a constant speed than to pedal at a constant power, especially here where you don't even have to change gears. I just ride into my segment at the desired speed, press lap and then only look at the average lap speed. I will start with the Hypers, then do 2 runs on the BTLOS and then another verification run on the Hypers. And that should tell us if my testing method delivers consistent results over the span of this experiment. Let's go! Okay, first run in. I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes here. So, quick wheel change. Damn it, the brake rotors are rubbing. Luckily, I brought a headlamp. Okay, we are good. Almost midnight now. I've got the 4 runs in. I'm heading home now. And all I can say is that it's close. So close that I don't know which wheelset is faster. So, time to get the Excel sheet out. Before we get into the details, why didn't I test at higher speeds? The simple answer is, I'm too weak. I did a run at 40 km per hour, but I just cannot hold the exact same position for 15 minutes at 300 watts. And holding that position is the most important thing when we are looking for single-digit watt differences. So, sorry about that. Every time I ride the segment, I log the weather and my gear in an Excel sheet. Then I go to Intervals ICU, hover over the segment and press V. That automatically creates an interval and gives me all the data I need. On the first run with the hypers, it took me 17 minutes and 8 seconds to complete the 10 kilometers. My average power was 194 watts and the normalized power was 203 watts. The normalized power is an indicator of the quality of the run. The lower it is, the more consistent my power output was. Looking at the altitude graph, we can also see that the segment isn't perfectly flat. The roundabout lies about 12 meters lower than the start-finish line and there is a little bump in the road. This reflects in the power, which is quite a bit higher on the return leg. But cadence and speed show that this was a super consistent run with only a little bit of coasting through the roundabout. Now let's add that first run into a bar chart and let's also add the last verification run that I also did on the hypers. This last run was 2 seconds faster and required 4 watts more average power. Now why is that? One explanation could be that the whole operation took quite a bit longer than I had planned, and so the last run started 90 minutes after the first one. By that time, my Wahoo showed a 5 degrees Celsius drop in temperature. Now, without knowing my exact CDA, it's impossible to calculate the effect, but 2 or 3 watts more due to higher air density could absolutely be possible. But of course, it could also be because of my position, a wrinkle in my suit, or the tiniest wisp of wind, and that's why pros go to the velodrome or to the wind tunnel. But I think being within 2% of the first run is a good result for outdoor testing. Now to the part you've been waiting for. How did the 40mm setup do? First, let me say that I'm pretty proud of myself for managing to finish all 4 runs within just 4 seconds. But during the second run I was extremely unlucky. Out of the only 2 cars that I encountered that night, one entered the roundabout just as I did, forcing me to give way and grab the brakes. You can see the power spike to get back up to speed, which of course affected the average and even more so the normalized power. Yet even with that acceleration, it was still the lowest average power so far. Could that be confirmed by run number 3? Absolutely. This time there was no braking and I recorded the lowest power of the night at just 191 watts. For full transparency, here's how the entire night went down. This long break in the recording is where I had to fix the rubbing front brake. And here I had to abort a run because my saddle clamp suddenly developed some play. Fortunately, the final wheel change went perfectly and I was able to complete 2 clean runs back to back. So what do we make of this data? My first takeaway is that it's very hard to measure marginal gains. From now on I'm going to be very skeptical whenever someone claims they found a few watts just by riding around their usual training loop. My second takeaway is that you don't have to be afraid of wide tires. I'm not claiming that 40mm tires are faster in general, but this exact setup at 35 km per hour in my gravel frame with a system weight of 100 kilos seems to have a slight advantage over my hyper wheelset. And that's in a straight line on perfect tarmac. On a worn out road I would expect the difference to be even more significant. So either the lower rolling resistance of the wider tire makes up completely for the increased frontal area, or the BTLOS rims pair so well with the GP5000 that they together create a lower drag coefficient. Or perhaps there's some aerodynamic sorcery going on where the wider front wheel causes lower drag somewhere further back on the bike. All I know is I want to race them, but I don't think a chunked out Aero frame with 40mm clearance and road geometry exists. The Aero 5 comes pretty close, but is completely out of my price range. So let me know if I overlooked something. I would love to build a road bike around this wheelset. For now, the GR1 has to do, so subscribe if you want to see me crit racing on 40mm tires in the next video.